Good evening, it's Lisa Copeland, and welcome to the pregame show of the 24-hour Facebook Global Summit. And I have got the pleasure and the honor of hosting the event this tomorrow night, starting at 11. Oh, excuse me, tomorrow night. Listen to me. Tonight, starting at 11 Central, well, that would be midnight Eastern, and we're going to kick it off. I have the honor of kicking it off, and I'm bringing to you all a few of our experts that are going to be doing sessions during the 24-hour summit. So I want to introduce them, and I want them to tell all of you about their session. Now, we're asking you to share this out if you're on the stream right now and you know the great value that our 46 experts are going to bring during the next 24 hours. And there's nobody on planet Earth who should miss this. We've got some of the best business experts in the world, literally from all over the world, that are going to be participating. And we're really excited to be able to do this. And it's just something that we can all do to help a lot of people who are sitting at home and, to expand your mind, expand your business, and sharpen your axes. So our first expert speaker is my good friend, Sara Hoagey, and Sara owns Elite BDC, and she's a very successful businesswoman. And so there's a lot of people out there, Sara, that don't know what a BDC is. So I'm going to let you tell all of our viewers what it is you do and what your session is going to be about.
Thank you. First of all, I have to take a moment to thank Lisa for coordinating 46 speakers to speak and teach everybody about automotive speaking, things they could do better in their business. So I just want to take a moment, Lisa, and say thank you for coordinating this and putting this all together. This is a great opportunity for everybody to gain something while they may be sitting home and may not be doing 100% at their dealership or at their workplace right now. So thank you for coordinating this.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And I also want to make sure I take a moment to thank our elected officials for keeping us safe, protecting us right now with everything that we have going on. So make sure we thank our nurses and our doctors. But a little bit about BDC is Business Development Center, kind of like a call center within your dealership or outside of your dealership. So I help dealerships establish call centers within their dealership to handle internet leads, telephone calls, chat, all types of various communications within a CRM system or customer retention management system within their dealership. Or if they decide, you know what, I don't want to have a group of people answering all of these internet leads and telephone calls all grouped together within a call center, I take them and I outsource them to a virtual call center that I also work with. So I've been in automotive for almost 21 years in every single position within a car dealership, from salesperson to finance manager, even service manager for a few years. And my husband and I, we worked together with a dealership that he started about 15 years ago. So that's a little bit about my background.
No, that's awesome. So Sara, talk to us about you, and Kim and Mike Barnes are also experts on this, but talk to us about where you see, do you think that, so many of these businesses, car dealerships, all kinds of businesses, real estate, insurance, everyone's now figuring out this virtual work from home thing. And, Zoom stock, God, I wish I would have bought it, even 6 months ago. I would be a gazillionaire now and probably never have to go back to work. And where do you think video conferencing is going to come in? And are you going to see more of that in your business? And do you think that once this crisis, for lack of a better word, is over, do you see a lot of your clients sticking with the game plan that they're developing now?
I think many of them will pivot. And what I mean by that is, where everyone has really slowed down the past 2 weeks, I've never worked harder in my life, because I had to take dealers, and if they were not familiar or doing digital retailing, where you can buy an entire car from beginning to end, complete the entire transaction online. If they don't have that, they're suddenly setting up demos to learn about that. Or if they said, you know what, we don't do any of these virtual things that we should be doing with our customers, like video. I work with QuickPage heavily. There's BombBomb. There's several different apps out there. We've had to do very, very quick demonstrations on how they can utilize all of this technology that they were not utilizing before. And we had to help them go from, okay, you're like there's a few states out there where you cannot test drive vehicles, but you can deliver cars. So we had to take them from, okay, what can't you do? Where can we walk the fine line here without you getting your hand slapped by the governor or by
right. So it's like reverse engineering the process.
Yes. And so we took them to, okay, this is where you were not comfortable before. I'm going to completely take you out of your comfort zone right now, and we're going to take you to digital.
I love that. I love that. So we're going to talk more about that in a little bit. Latif is in the house. Hello, my friend.
How are you?
Good. And I wish I could pronounce your last name because otherwise I'd say it.
Qadri.
Qadri. I knew that. I just feel like you and I have always had margaritas or something when we've talked about it. So, so Latif Qadri, a friend of mine, a good friend of mine. He is another rock star out of the automotive industry, and he has got a digital marketing and direct mail company. Is that correct?
That is correct. We do direct mail, staffed events, managed events, digital marketing. We are also really diving into executive coaching, recruiting, training, management, management efficacy training. So really all things automotive. I spent 25 years in the retail vertical, started selling cars all the way up, NADA Academy, being a dealer, the whole 9 yards. And, I spent so much time in these dealerships, and you just see so many opportunities for improvement, so many areas where things can be done, just tweaking a little bit here, a little bit there, and really knocking the cover off the ball, and, having a lot of fun with it. It's the best part of being in a dealership, is when you go in there and you can see change take place, and just having a lot of fun. The best part about the car business is selling a car, right? And I get to do all that, and then still go home at a reasonable hour.
Yeah, no kidding. And so, Latif, what do you think about? Every dealer in the country right now, they're pivoting. Every business is pivoting. This is because this summit's not just for automotive. So every dealer, every business in the country is pivoting now, and they're having to figure out how to work from home, the efficiencies of it. Consumers are happier now because, the thought of, hey, you mean I could have done all this from my living room versus having to go into the dealership and wait 6 hours to buy my car and get the paperwork done. I think that there's going to be like a revolution or even a revolt with consumers going, hey, this is over, but I want to continue doing it like this. What do you think?
Absolutely. I agree. I think really what this is doing, when I would talk with dealers about, when the advent of the internet really kind of came to the auto industry, and I would talk to dealers, especially some of the guys that have been around for a long time, they were adverse to the idea, oh, it's never going to happen that way. The car business has been the same way since the Model T rolled off the assembly line. And this is kind of a forced exposure to how people really want to do business. We are being forced in automotive right now to live the Amazon, lifestyle.
Yeah. And it's worked out okay for Amazon. Let's be real.
Absolutely. It's absolutely worked out. And I think really what this is going to do is I don't think it's going to be 100% of the business going forward, but I think this is going to give dealers an opportunity to get into a space where they haven't been before, simply out of survival. And I think a lot of dealers are going to thrive. I think some guys are going to fall apart in the process, but I think, it's survival of the fittest, and those who adapt to the change and, and dominate the opportunity are the ones that are ultimately going to succeed. This is 2008, 2009 all over again in a very truncated period.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, and I think about, I would be great having Zoom meetings with my CPA, with my insurance agent, like meetings that I had to go into before. And then, and you even take it as far, you guys, as telemed. Yeah. How many times, like, who wants to go to the doctor when you're sick? It's like, hey, look at my throat. It's red. Give me my drugs. Like, that's all I need. I don't want to get in my car, drive, sit in the waiting room with all the other sick people just to, have your, whatever, your assistant ask me 3 questions. You walk in and bless me with a prescription. So, I think that this is going to be an equalizer for a lot of businesses. And so I think it's going to be that you either learn that you take this time, all you viewers that are on here right now. And if you're on here, share this out. This is the pregame show for our global summit that is launching tonight at 11 p.m. Central, midnight Eastern Standard Time. And I'll be kicking it off. So share this out to your friends. But this is going to be the great equalizer. And I think that we're figuring out that we can do a lot more with a lot less. And I think that that's going to help businesses recover also, because we all know how expensive bricks and mortar is. So with that note, I'm going to pivot to our next experts, because they are the king and queen of video, and very good friends right here in Austin, Texas. Kim and Mike Barnes, both former newscasters for a very, very long time, and experts when it comes to, doing Facebook Lives, video, on camera, everything else. And I love to tell the story about the first time I was on Fox National, and I called Kim and she came to my house, and we videoed some stuff and practiced, and she's always got good feedback for me, that's for sure. In a loving way, of course.
In a loving way, absolutely.
Yes. Okay. So Kim and Mike Barnes, talk to us.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's going to be so interesting because when we look at when we've done some trainings for corporate trainers, or if you think of sales professionals in a tech company or anything like that, so much of what they do is in-person trainings and in-person presentations. And I think it's going to be really interesting that if companies can really embrace this virtual that we have to and do it really well, I think that they could find that during this time, they can still be making the sales and doing the trainings that they need to be doing and the sharing information from their CEO. If they can get good at it, then I think when this is all over, they can realize, wow, when we had to cut the travel budget and that we saved all of this money. And now if we can do it as well or almost as well as we do in person, wow, couldn't that save a company a whole lot of money down the road when they can do it well? And that doesn't mean that you may not be able to, have people that never go out to see their customers or go on site places. But if they could do it once a quarter or once a year instead of once a month, you can see lots of great savings again. But I think that we've got to get good at being able to be effective with this virtual communication as well.
Yeah, you can't just do it. You have to practice a little bit. So many people that we know that are great one-on-one. You see somebody and you work a deal or whatever, but it's eye to eye. You put them in front of a camera. Sometimes you put them in front of a group, but definitely you put them in front of a camera, and they're like,
"It's terrible.
Well, what do I do? I'm nervous. I don't like this. I could never do this." I tell anybody who tells me that, are you kidding? I'm a shy introvert. And I went from that to an award-winning sportscaster. So I know if I can do it, you can do it. So it can be done.
Right. No, absolutely. So I'm going to come back to you guys on your sessions. And our last presenter on this pregame show, and last but not least, but absolutely my one of my partners in crime on putting this whole global summit together, Michelle McClain, and she's the CEO of Retention Masters. And you see all the great graphics and all the great logos that we have for the 24-hour global summit that are plastered on Facebook everywhere. I might add, my feed is just all of it. Those are all Michelle, and right behind me, those are all Michelle and her company, and she's amazing. So Michelle, talk to us.
Well, thank you again so much for having me on and for putting together this incredible event. I think right now everybody needs so much hope and direction and guidance, and people just need something to look forward to. And I think by putting on this event, I think we're gonna change lives. And so I'm so grateful to be a part of something like this. A little bit about my background, very similar to my other comrades here. Latif Qadri actually was my general manager at one point in time in my career. I have a 20-year automotive background, and about 5 years ago, I applied everything that I was doing in the automotive industry, and I decided that I was going to branch out and start my own client retention company. And over the course of the past 5 years, that's shifted and pivoted. We do pretty much everything client retention, but the focus is graphics, social media, marketing, design, and of course, branding. And everything that I teach and everything that I've learned a lot what not to do over the course of the last 5 years of building my own business. And so I'm going to be talking about branding to win, letting you know the steps that you really have to take before you even consider launching a brand. And I think a lot of people in this day and age, especially, are going to be looking to take their business and shift it somewhere else, whether that's to an online business for something they're currently running or just launching a whole new business altogether. And I think it's very important that people understand that being an entrepreneur is by no means a lavish lifestyle. It is not something that happens overnight. It's not a snap your fingers, be an instant millionaire. It's a lot of hard work, grit, soul searching, and dedication. And so I hope to bring some quality clarity to that topic tomorrow. and share my background in sales, marketing, and branding with people, and give a lot of people hope that if they are looking to start their own business, that there is a way to do it, and let's do that the right way for you.
Yeah, no, I love it. So we talked a little bit pregame show, and I want to kind of have a conversation tonight. And then when we wrap up, I'll let you all tell everybody when your session's going to be and how they can connect with you. But, since all of you are in one way or another, marketing and branding experts, and, and Sarah, your job is to get them into the store, what in today's world, where do you think that we're going to see the pivots in advertising and in marketing pre-corona and post-corona virus? Sarah, I'm going to start with you.
I'm going to tell you, well, I already guide a lot of my dealers into this direction, where if they're doing, I hate to say it, sorry, Latif, if they're doing like 70% non-digital, they're more TV, radio. I kind of guide where they're using, I hate to say it, not all third-party leads are equal. And I usually have the first set of 5 that I go in and I'm like, I'm going to look at these for the next 3 to 4 months, but we're probably not going to be keeping these, because it doesn't matter what you do, whether a call center, a salesperson, a cradle to grave salesperson where they start you off online and they deliver your car for you. Whatever they do, those third-party sites, no matter what you do, they just don't work. So I tend to really streamline everything. I like to see obviously we're on Facebook right now. I like to see a lot of Facebook advertising, but I really help them move into more of that area. And again, I can't even tell you what some of the products I use. You can email customers a video. You can see where they open it. I just had a customer this past week. He was in California. Then he went back home to Tennessee, and you could see him. He opened it in Texas. He opened it back up in Tennessee. So, and it's real time when they're actually
spreading the virus, huh?
So we spreading it around, keeping it equal. But you can see where they are and if they're opening it. And these are the types of technologies that you're going to need. And they're much more effective and they're cheaper. I hate to say it. So just reducing some of that unnecessary spend and putting it where you're going to get your money back.
Okay, good.
Return on investment.
Latif, pre and post COVID, what do you see, or COVID, I guess, what do you see that's going to change? What are your predictions?
Well, I got to tell you, in my line, staffed events, managed events, Q2 was stacked pretty strong. Obviously, a lot of that stuff has been put on the back burner. There's been such a heavy emphasis on digital over the last 8 to 10 years that, good old-fashioned snail mail had really, really strong effectiveness right now. We're seeing 3% responses. The week that Connecticut had their first case reported of COVID-19, I was up there and we were doing an event at a little bitty Volkswagen store. And in a matter of 8 days, we had 1,500 people come through the door.
All to get the free something, right?
Yeah, all the hooks and craziness. And we did about 100 cars, for about 300 grand in gross. So mind you, the budget, the budget's a little bit higher. You want to talk about trackability. If they come walking in with a piece of mail, obviously they came in, and, we've got other back end tools that we were able to track. I think, after the fact, I really think it's going to be, I really think that, how do I put this? Regionally, you see a lot of difference. And how do I explain this? In little bitty Pikeville, Kentucky, okay, where you have to go out 70 miles to have, 100,000 households. Those markets and that type of clientele and that demographic, they're not digitally savvy. Those people don't live on social media, like majority of the metros, people in the metros are, right? So in that world, your traditional mediums are far more effective. Your direct mails. There's still really strong print markets and newspaper. Newspapers in markets like that on a Sunday, remind me of what it was like in Chicago in the 90s. You know what I mean? Where it's
do you think there's ever where mail would go to? It's like, hey, you have to jump on with our virtual business center, and and they can they work it through like that than physically having to come into the showroom. Do you see anything like that? Is your imagination, you're a mail guru, is your imagination going places differently today than it was pre-COVID?
Absolutely. And yes, that is where
and if I gave you that idea, I want to cut just for the rest of it.
No, we actually have a couple campaigns in the pipeline right now where we're kind of going down that path where it's like, hey, we're going to take that traditional piece of direct mail and we're going to attach it to to an online digital, platform where we can track the people, communicate with the people, create that relationship. And this is incremental business for the dealer. So we're definitely going down that path right there. And especially if this is going to last for any length of time.
And I do have to say, Latif, you do amazing Facebook events.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, I mean, like I said, that's why I chose Latif to be one of our experts. Otherwise, he wouldn't be on here.
Thank you.
Mike and Kim, pre and post COVID, I mean, where do you see your business going? Where do you see business itself going? I know, Kim, you told me last week you were doing some corporate training. I mean, are your phones ringing off the walls now? Because people have been on a Zoom call with their boss and they're like, oh my God, tragic.
Well, right, because you don't realize you don't know what you don't know until you actually sometimes go back and look at it or realize I didn't know how I looked or how I came across.
I've done it. It's like
and we've been touting the effectiveness of being on camera for years now because we know that we feel like it's the next best thing to being there if you can't be in person. And I think that in some ways because people are being forced into this. And being, you all of a sudden are having to be on Zoom calls, all day long or doing happy hours and all kinds of things. Video that the good thing is I think that'll help people at least feel more comfortable with the technology of it. And, I kind of always say with our kids aren't afraid of being on camera. We have a 20-year-old and an almost 23-year-old. They're not afraid of being on camera, but that doesn't, the lack of fear does not necessarily make them good at it or effective.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think that the good news, I think, with all of the forced, virtual conferencing is more comfortable with the technology and with the idea of being communicating this way. And then I think then it's a matter of just, how can we be even better so that we can be effective? And, like I said earlier, can we continue to be able to, do corporate trainings where we don't have to be in person or even sales presentations where you don't have to be there. Now, we're definitely not in the car business. We've bought a lot of cars. But I'm thinking, and that's interesting because I feel like I still want to test drive it. I still want to see it and touch it. So that's going to be, I think that's going to be interesting. But I also don't want to have to sit for 6 hours waiting for financing either.
but what if you went online and said, I want to see that car and someone brought it to your house and you got to test drive it?
Sweet.
Would that?
Yeah, we could do that. I think that it goes back to what Kim said about fear, that so many people, again, there's no fear for the kids because they've grown up with iPhones, they've grown up with computers, so it's just nothing new. But for anyone who's older, I hate to say that we're older, but anyone who's older, we're not used to it. So people who are scared of being on camera, and now they're like, oh my gosh, I have to do a virtual meeting or I have to teach a class on camera. So many teachers and professors are going to be online for the rest of the school year, and they're scared about it. But I compare it to jumping off the diving board, where when we're kids, we're all scared that first time we jump off the diving board. Then we realize, oh my gosh, this is incredible. This is so much fun. This is so easy. I think it's going to be like that in the future from this point going forward with so many different businesses, whether it's business meetings, communication efforts, but especially with teaching, whether it's especially in the college level. I don't know so much about high school and lower, but especially the college level. I think
the elementary school teachers are doing it.
I think more and more professors are going to see, hey, this is actually pretty easy. I can be pretty good at this if I just learn a couple of tricks, a couple of tips. This is a lot easier than having to go into class and teach them one-on-one. I can just sit here, in my study and teach from here. I think I want to do this. I think we're going to see a lot of people changing this way because they realize, I tell people all the time, the camera does not bite.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's so much easier that way because the camera is easy. The camera is your friend. Just treat it that way.
Not always, but okay. What about, and Michelle, I'll get to you, but what about, I was supposed to be in New York this week at a big marketing conference, myself and Frank Lopes. And so I was supposed to come in there Monday. Thank God I didn't, because the Texas governor would not have let me back in as of yesterday. And I was supposed to come home yesterday. So they ended up doing the conference virtually. And it just wasn't the same. Now, I learned a lot. I probably even learned more than I would have sitting there with my friend Frank and, us goofing around and making fun of people and all kinds of stuff. So, it was probably, I probably retained more of it, but the experience was, just not what it is. But one of the things that they spent a lot of time on was talking about, and I want to hear what Mike and Kim say about this, is TikTok. And they're like, you guys need to be on TikTok. I'm like, and I went and looked at TikTok. I'm like, you're joking me.
I don't think so.
I can't.
My daughter's on TikTok all day long.
But the stats on TikTok are stronger for sales than Instagram and Facebook, believe it or not.
There's
So
a lot of
it is
creativity.
Yeah, it says a lot about our world, which I'm not sure what that says. Do you know what I mean? That I'm not. I can't. He's not dancing. I can tell you that.
Dancing, no.
Yeah, me either. I mean, the whole time. I mean, I was texting Frank, and I'm like, no, they really can't be serious here. Like, and so I said something to my grandson about it. He's like, oh, you're going to be on TikTok. Well, he's 7. So yeah, he's excited. And it isn't like my daughter even lets him watch TikTok because some of the stuff's pretty nasty. I didn't know. I just wanted to see what you guys thought about it. I obviously know.
I mean, I've watched a few things. I've watched a few things on it. I have heard, people that are embracing it. And I'm still trying to figure out how that fits in a more professional sense.
Right. Well, they actually gave us some people to follow in real estate. So I'm gonna go look at them. And they said, we swear they're not, cartoon characters and stuff. It's just pretty interesting. So anyways, I'll give you guys that stuff offline. Michelle McClain, where do you see pre and post COVID and how business will change on retaining customers?
No, I think that we're going to see a huge shift in the dynamic of the way that we approach customers, both pre, during, and the post sale. And to make reference to the TikTok, because I really try to work and brand with all different platforms. And I think one thing that's important, especially when it comes to branding, is that you have to find the platform that's going to work best for your business and the target audience that you're trying to reach. If you're a millennial business and you're marketing and advertising a product that is specific to that demographic, then TikTok might be the platform for you. If you're a professional business owner, you're going to probably veer more towards advertising on platforms like Facebook or LinkedIn. So I think you really have to know who your target audience is, and it starts with that. But as far as the pre and post sale thing, like I said, I think we're going to see a really big shift in the dynamic, and I think it's going to be broken down by a generalization gap. So if you're looking at, at the generations that are, let's just say our generalized age, we are acclimated to using platforms like Facebook and Instagram and things like that for the most part. And so if your business is going to be targeting those types of consumers for the most part, you want to stick to those platforms. If you're targeting an older generation, or if you're in the auto industry that targets all different generations, I think that you're going to have to realize that you need to be prepared for anything, whether you're a car dealership, it doesn't matter what you do in business. I think this is a wake-up call to a lot of businesses to say, hey, we need to be able to pivot and shift, and we need to be able to reach our clients exactly where they're at. So an older client, for example, maybe they're not even tuned into the internet. We went and saw Ryan's 87-year-old grandmother this afternoon. The woman can't even buy her own groceries, and we're terrified for her. She doesn't drive. So somebody like that, she doesn't even have a computer hooked up. She doesn't have a smartphone. The way that you reach that customer is with a handwritten card like your grandma used to send you with the dollar bill in it, right?
Right.
That's how you reach that customer. When you're talking about the millennial generation, obviously they're more in tune with things like augmented reality, AI. You can hop on like the Oculus platform with the augmented reality, and you can virtually test drive pretty much any car in the world that you want. You can see it, you can play with the buttons, and I think you're going to see a shift in that. Those type of buyers, they're going to want more of that realistic approach that they can do anything virtually and have their keys and their new car dropped off to them. So I think, again, it's really about finding your target audience and then using not just social media, not just print mail, not just, an in-person visit. It's using all of the tools and resources that are available at your disposal and figuring out a way to pivot those to different generations.
Well, and just in a multi-platform approach. No, I totally get that. I totally get that. So I want to ask you guys and gals, I want each of you to, I'm going to go around again. I'm going to have you tell what your session's going to be about and what are some takeaways that, well, a couple things. So I want you guys to tell when your session is, when you're going to be on live, what your session's about, and what are a couple of takeaways they're going to get from your session. Sarah?
So tomorrow I'm going to speak at 12:30 Eastern time, and I'm going to talk about why buy from you, why a customer should want to buy from you. It's one of the first questions I usually ask my customers is, what differentiates you from the rest of your competitors? What are your value propositions? What makes you stand out? And I laugh. A lot of dealers say, well, I've been in business for 30 years. And I say, so is your competitor next door? Or, well, I have a 4-star rating on Google. And I say, well, no offense, but you are going to get my business anyways if you didn't have that. That's not a value proposition. That's not why you stand out. Like, that's what you should have. Free coffee, free water. You can get that anywhere. If we go into any business right now, we can get all of those things. So what really makes you stand out? So I'm going to go through and I'm going to talk about things, customers that I have, dealerships I've met in the past, what they have that I say, you know what, that's a true value. I'm going to go through and really name some great values that dealerships could have or should have that differentiates them in the market. And I'm not even going to talk about dealerships as much as who do I do business with? Who are some great businesses that I do business with because they differentiate themselves in the marketplace? So that's what I'm going to talk about tomorrow from 12:30 to 1 p.m. Eastern time.
So that's like 12:30 noon-ish. Like
12:30 noon-ish.
Yeah. Well, because otherwise it could have been 12:30. That would have been a.m. So you're 12:30 p.m.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, great. Latif.
Tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, the power of team building. Yeah. We're going to talk about the power of your people. You know, I am not great at anything, but I have always been great at surrounding myself with fantastic people, retaining these people. I have guys that work for me today that worked for me, 14 years ago, and I've been very fortunate with that. A couple of takeaways we're gonna talk about. Especially originally, the topic was the power of team building in this tight employment market. But as we've had almost 4 million people file for unemployment here in the last 10 days or so, it's not that tight anymore. Yeah. But we're going to talk about the power of team building, and really, I think it's an excellent time to talk about this. Mark Cuban wrote an article the other day talking about how brands are going to be judged going forward based on how they treat their team and how they operate their people. And I think right now this is such a key thing, because this is absolutely, it's a one time, 100%. But and I'll go into obviously great detail when I go through my spiel tomorrow at 9:30. But ultimately, the takeaways are going to be, we're going to talk about employee attitudes across the board, employee attitudes in dealerships, referencing some key data, and talking about ways to incentivize your people and to grow your team. And then when I say incentivize your people, it obviously car dealers always cringe because they think it's money. But there's a lot of other ways to incentivize people. And attitudes have shifted, especially with millennials that we have. And we're going to talk about some key things that they can do to attract and retain these people and grow their team so that they can weather this storm.
Love it. I love it. Kim and Mike Barnes.
We are on at 6 Eastern, 5 Central, because I just figured out that we're doing this all on Eastern time, so I need to make sure we show up at the right time. So 5 Central.
Friends are like, what?
Yeah, 5 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Central. So dinner time ish. You can grab a snack and come join us. And we are presenting on communicating with confidence in a virtual world, which it was originally going to be just communicating with confidence, but we're pivoting a little bit
virtually now.
Yeah, all virtual.
Well, and Lisa, you said that the presentation that was not in person, that it had to be on video. It's like, it's not as good. I'm sorry, it's not because of being on video. It's because of the person. No offense, the person on video presenting it. Because anybody can get on video and do a great presentation. Anybody can get on video and do a great speech, a great performance, whatever it may be. I'm sure back in the old days, 100+ years ago, people said, "Oh, if it's not on stage, if it's on film, I'm not going to like that. And then if it's on TV, I'm not going to like that. It needs to be in person." It's the same thing here. I do motivational speaking, and I did my first virtual speech on Thursday. And other than the fact that I couldn't see them and hear them laugh and hear them talk about it, it was the same thing. I gave them the same speech that I normally give,
Okay, but Mike,
I know how to do it. And if you know how to do it, you know the tips and the tricks to connect with the people, it will work. And I guarantee it will work for people who are watching this.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up. I'm a speaker, and I get so much off of an audience that, and it really guides me on whether I'm going to go right or go left or pivot or whatever, because I know whether they love me or hate me or love or hate what I'm saying. And then I'm able to pivot very quickly. So how does somebody who gets paid professionally to speak, like me, like you, anybody else on here, that, how do you do that? I haven't had to do it yet. I have a conference coming up in May, which has not been canceled yet. And then I'm the keynote for Kentucky Auto Dealers Association in June, has not been canceled yet. I'm praying. I just can't imagine just sitting here doing like this and then not seeing or feeling how they're responding to what I'm telling them.
It is different.
It is
for
different.
Sure.
It is different, but there's two things. Number one is you have to know your audience. And when you know that it's auto dealers, or you know that it's doctors, or you know who it is, then you know what's going to work. Just because you have experience doing it, you know what you've done in the past. And when you've talked to auto dealers, this works. When you've talked to other groups, this works. If you talk to a PTA meeting, this works. You know that, but then it all ties back to having confidence. And that's kind of what we teach here, is communicating with confidence. You have to have the confidence to know that when you say a certain thing that you've said in 100 speeches beforehand and people laugh every time, they're laughing again now. I know they are, and I'm going to treat it that way. I can't see them laughing. I can't hear them laughing, but I know they are, and I'm going to smile, and I'm going to enjoy this just like they are, and they're going to feed off that, and it all comes through the eyes.
Okay, well, I'm anxious to talk to you offline about that one. Talk about a fear, right? I can do a Facebook Live, I can whatever, but the thought of having 500 people on virtually, and I am the only speaker with no interaction and not being able to feel that audience, I'm just praying my other stuff doesn't get canceled and still.
I know you can do it.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, I think that's very common with speakers, even when we're trying to get them to even do more video, is that the fact that they do feed off the audience. They're looking at they can see if people look bored, or do they look interested, or are they checking their phones the whole time. And you draw that energy. And when if it's just you and the camera, you don't get any feedback. And certainly I think in a speaking situation, there might be ways to make it so that it's more comfortable for you, where, maybe if it's in a meeting situation versus a webinar where it's just one-way communication, that could help make you feel like you have some feedback. If that makes sense, but still you have to be careful, because then there's background noise and
I'm sorry. It goes back to confidence and knowing your audience. I was a sportscaster for almost 30 years and won a lot of awards because I could picture that audience. I knew exactly what they were thinking, what they were seeing as I showed them a highlight or gave them a story, whether it was a funny story, a great story, a sad story, and I could feel their vision and what they were feeling, getting off of me, and it all worked out together. So again, it all has to do with confidence. We're going to work on your confidence, Lisa.
I think it's great. If my agent's watching right now, he's going to want to choke me when we get off of this thing. But but Mike, that's interesting, because when you were a broadcaster and you were going through highlight reels, you're right. I mean, of course, saddest day of my husband's life when he was like, "What do you mean Mike Barnes isn't on anymore?" And then one day he comes home and you're sitting in my kitchen, you and Kim, and he was like, "That's Mike Barnes at my house." Like a really big deal, I think that's going to be interesting. I think that you guys are probably, of all of our experts, I think you all are going to do better in this post-COVID economy than anybody, because it just got real for every business. Like, seriously, because I got to think, y'all, I don't know what your thoughts are, but don't you think, people are still going to be, once the president says, okay, lights on, let's go, I am going to get out. Trust me, I'm so stir crazy. I can't even deal with it barely, but I'm going to be a lot more careful. Like, you're probably not going to see me in a stadium anytime soon, or some things like that. Just because that's a little too many people too close too quick. A restaurant I'll go to, but I want to be one table apart probably. I don't know. I just think for a long time, I think we're going to be really shell shocked.
No, I think definitely for a while, but even then after that, like I said, some business people, some teachers, professors are going to realize that, ooh, this is better. Maybe not all the time, but quite a bit. I'm getting better and better. I'm more comfortable looking at that little camera lens right there. I'm getting better and better at this. I'm more comfortable about it, more confident about it. So I'm going to do it more.
Okay. I love it. Like I said, my money's on Kim and Mike Barnes. I want to buy stock in your company because I think you guys are going to win. Michelle McClain, tell us about your session.
So tomorrow I'm going to be speaking at 1:30 Eastern time. That's 12:30 Central and whatever time Pacific. For all the people that don't know the time zones, I'm going to be talking about branding to win. We're going to go into the introduction of really what you need to do before you decide to start a company and what goes into a brand. I think a lot of people have the misconception that a brand is a logo, and that's not the case. It's so much more than that. So we're going to talk about the differences between internal marketing, external marketing, interactive marketing, things that you really need to do, especially in a time like now, to engage your clients about the right kind of content that you want to post out there, the kind of color palette that you put out there. And it really needs to be a cohesive message among everyone in your organization. So I think that it's really important that anybody right now that's looking to pivot and start their own business, that they really have the keys to the branding aspect of it, making sure that they have a brand promise and a mission statement and a strategy, a foolproof strategy behind the brand that they want to launch and they want to release. So we're going to be talking about all things branding tomorrow. We'll get a little bit into social media marketing, logo design, things like that. But generally speaking, just anything that you can do right here and now if you're looking to brand a new company, and what you can do if you're an established company to help grow your audience and the brand that you already have.
No, I love that. I love that. And so for all of you out there, we're getting ready to wrap up, but tonight is the kickoff of the 24-hour Global Facebook Summit at 11 o'clock Central, midnight Eastern. I'll be kicking it off, followed by Frank J. Lopes, right behind me. And I don't know after that who is coming on, because he's the only one I'm responsible for introducing. So other than that, I have no idea. But we have posted it everywhere, our speakers. Also, if you're on this feed, share it out, please. And all of our Facebook Lives will not only be on all of our speakers and our experts' Facebook pages, but they will be played live within the Big Sellers Mastermind group. That's a private group. So if you're not already a member of Big Sellers Mastermind group, which I'll put it into the notes, please go in and join, because that way, if it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you all cannot stay up to watch Josh O at 2 o'clock in the morning, you can catch it in the Big Sellers Mastermind group. But I promise you, every one of these experts has put so much time and effort into bringing you the best presentation that they can bring you. And I can tell you also, every one of us have pivoted since in the last 2 weeks. And so I know everyone's bringing value on how we can get through and do better today, right now. And, I'm just going to leave everybody with this, right now is the time, it's kind of the great equalizer for everybody, for every company. Like, we've all got more time now than we had 2 weeks ago. I feel very confident saying that for a fact. And we're home more. So what are we going to do with that time? Are we going to take it to build our business, to get better, to so that when times are better, that we're prepared? Or are we going to sit home on the couch and watch this new show on Netflix that I see everyone's watching, The Tiger something? I don't even know. I'm like, what is this Tiger show? What is this Tiger show? And Ozark. People are like, I'm binge watching Ozark. I'm like, why aren't you doing something productive?
Yes.
But you know what? 90% of your competition, ladies and gentlemen, are going to be binge watching The Tiger Show or Ozark. And the 10% that spend it sharpening their axes are going to come through this thing and be better for it and stronger for it. So with that, we're going to break. And I want to thank all of my experts and thank all of you for tuning in tonight. Share this out, and we'll see you over the next 24 hours. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Bye-bye.